Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink, and get comfortable because this starts now. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about the new episode of The Valley, Season 1, Episode 6. Let's get right into this mess.
Your husband said that he's going to divorce you within 2 months. Did you just say to me? What did you say to me? What did you say to me? Problems with your wife. Getting you. Talk to your wife. Getting you.
Okay, you guys, welcome back. This is literally the best show on Bravo at this moment. I'm not even kidding with y'all. So let's get started because we started this episode. Kristen and Luke are in their apartment. They're still wanting to see if this is going to be the cycle in which Kristen finally gets pregnant. If not, they're going to keep trying. These two are truly working on having a baby. And it's been hard for Kristen. She hasn't been able to. She feels like every time she takes a test and it comes back negative, it almost feels as if all of them are always going to come back negative. So that's really sad. I do wish them the best and hope that they can have a baby. Luke also had suggested for them to take some premarital counseling. And I think that's great because even though they're not having issues as a couple, they're kind of setting the foundation to be okay, to prevent anything in the future. Now, they're not having issues as a couple, but Luke is feeling like he still doesn't really fit in Los Angeles. For example, it doesn't feel like their apartment. It feels like it's Kristen's apartment and he's just staying there. So trying to feel like you belong in a place where you don't belong is really hard because he's a Colorado guy. He likes to be out in the forest and the rivers. I don't know. But hopefully they can get that figured out. The next scene is Jax and Jasmine, and they're just catching up about the girls' night and the guys' night and what each of them did. Jax says that Brittany hasn't told them everything that happened at girls' night because he knows that he has a big mouth and likes to gossip. I was like, same. But Jasmine is telling him about Brittany bringing up that they haven't had much sex. And Jax says, yeah, we used to be freaks, but after the baby, we haven't really done that a lot. And Jasmine says, try, man, like maybe some dirty talk with her like every once in a while or get some toys, because Jasmine says that Brittany doesn't want to end up like Jesse and Michelle. So they start to gossip about Jesse and Michelle. Jax says, I'm going to tell you something, Jasmine, but like keep this between us. Michelle has been texting other men. Kristen is the one that told him. So Jasmine is like, oh, that's what Kristen means when she says that she's protecting Michelle. So now they're just kind of worried that Kristen was going to eventually spill the beans. We see this scene of Jax fighting for his life, trying to figure out how to get his phone to make some phone calls. He didn't know how to. He calls Danny to check up on him because remember, he had just had to fix the AC with the babies and the weather over there is ridiculous. But also Jax is calling him because he also wants to invite him to an event that he's having at the Montreal Hotel because he partnered up with some brand for like shampoo or like a hair product for men whose hair is either thinning or they're losing their hair, which that's pretty cool that he's partnering up with them. Moving forward, we also see Michelle take her daughter to some cool like indoor jungle gym. She really wants her daughter to have some good moments instead of just hearing her parents argue all the time. We then see the couple of the year, Danny and Nia. Then Jason comes over and so does Jesse because Nia is Miss USA, she partners up with a lot of brands and, they pay her to promote their stuff on Instagram and like on other social media. So recently she partnered with some brand that sells baby cribs. So they're going to have to put these baby cribs together for her to be able to take the pictures and post them. So they're going to need the men to go in there and help. Now, the funny thing is that Jason is worse than Danny. But Jesse is worse than Jason when it comes to handy, manly duties. So, child, they got the champagne as they were doing this. They didn't know how to do this stuff. And after struggling a little bit, they talk a little. And Jesse kind of brings up that he started to do some things to actually better his marriage. So Jesse is definitely trying to save this thing with him and Michelle. Moving along, Jax and Brittany are driving some golf cart down the road, which is kind of hilarious just seeing this golf cart in the middle of the street. Jax is taking her to the bar that he's about to open. The bar's name is Jax's, and they're making some progress. They're still in a little bit of construction, and I will say, seeing the inside of the bar, it does look pretty nice, Brittany really wants to get involved. She's up there talking to the contractors, the business partners, all of them. She's very social, which is a really good thing. Jax, on the other hand, was a little quiet. So after they saw a little bit of the bar, they go outside and Brittany's like, what's going on? Because she can tell that he's a little off. And Jax says, I'm stressed. I'm stressed on how I'm going to be able to raise a child, raise a family, pay the mortgage, start a business. He says that it's definitely very scary, especially because they want more kids. And Brittany says, well, to have more kids, we need to, make the baby. So we need to spend some romantic time for that. But Jax looked very anxious in this scene. And he says, I almost feel like I'm about to cry. I kind of felt bad for him because he's got a lot on his plate. It is then time for Jax's hair event. And Schwartz arrives with that horrible blonde Dorinda hair. But I'm glad that he was there to support Jax. All of the cast came. There were a lot of people. Jax gets up there and starts giving a little speech about why he decided to partner up with this brand. He says that one day he saw a little bald spot on his head and he was like, oh no. So apparently he went to the garage and spray painted that bald spot. But the gag is everyone thinks that his ass is lying because he's got a lot of hair. But they understand that he needs to hustle, and more power to him. If he's got to get up there and make a little fake story, then whatever, get that money. So then everyone just starts to kind of mingle around. Y'all, Schwartz's interactions with people is a funny mess. Then Janet and Jasmine are talking, and then Janet, she's so nosy and messy. She says to Jasmine, how's your conversation with Jax, and what did he say to you? So aggressively. And Jasmine says, yeah, I don't really feel comfortable repeating what he said to me because it's really bad, but it is about Jesse and Michelle, and he did tell me that Kristen is the one that told him. But y'all, I don't like Janet because she's really messy, and she even tells Jasmine, well, you should go over there and tell Jesse. Also, in the event, there was this hot girl just selling some costumes or something, and Jax and Jesse were melting over this chick. And Jax even said, I want my wife to dress like you. But they did have some fun. They were dancing around, dressing up, some good, cool vibes. But you guys, this girl that I was just talking about, her and Jesse were talking a lot, and Michelle goes up to them and she's like, what's going on? She's such an antagonizer. It's crazy. After the event, the group then goes upstairs for a special dinner over there at the hotel. And as they're sitting and drinking and eating, having a good time, enjoying the food, Michelle turns to Jesse and says, you look too serious. And he says, that's okay. I look how I look. So the reason why he's like this is because 2 hours before this event, Jesse had a session with the therapist and it was bad. He kind of pretty much figured out that his marriage is not going to last. But the group is asking Jax about his bar, and Jax says that he's going to open the bar sooner than anticipated. He says that he doesn't want to be like Sandoval and Schwartz's lazy asses just sitting around. But this is news to Brittany, so this kind of just shows that Jax doesn't really communicate with Brittany effectively. But then everyone is asking Jesse, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Why are you quiet? Why are you serious? Because he was very quiet. And then Michelle says to him, everybody wants to know what the hell is wrong with you and they want you to wake up. And Jesse says, why don't you propose something to make me wake up? And everyone's telling him he's kind of being a little rude. And then he pounds on the table again and says to Kristen and Luke, do y'all have something to say? And Kristen says, oh no, I'm not doing this again. And then Kristen starts to go off on him. Now, luckily, he couldn't really hear because Luke and Kristen were on the opposite side of the table. But the rest of the table, they were able to see Kristen whispering to Luke and just mumbling a bunch of things about Jesse. He's so disrespectful. He's this, he's that. I don't like him. He's a douchebag. Even his own wife calls him a douchebag. And then Michelle even says, Kristen, he's not mad about you. It's not about you. Child, let me tell y'all, the people are eating Kristen up. They think she is the messiest, which she is, and it's kind of hilarious. Jesse then says to Kristen, because he did manage to hear Kristen calling him rude. So he said, well, you're one to talking about someone being rude. So by now the whole table is chaos. It was like the dinner scene of Shrek 2. Then Jesse wants to talk about something. Michelle tells him to stop. He gets mad, gets up, and leaves. There was so much chaos because Kristen was out telling the producers that Jesse is horrible and that she doesn't want to be around him. So then Jesse goes near Kristen and says, if you bring up any skeletons about my marriage, I will effing bury you. Now, Luke hears this, so he goes outside and kind of pushes Jesse off of his woman, off of Kristen. And then Michelle wants to go up there and talk about, don't touch my husband. I'm like, oh, so now you care about your husband, Michelle? So Jesse says to Luke, what you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? And then Michelle starts to go off on Kristen, and Kristen reminds her, listen, girl, I'm protecting you. And Michelle starts to scream at her in the top of her lungs, what are you protecting me from? Do you know all the things that you've done to me and my family? So wow, this was crazy. You got Jesse screaming in Luke's face. You got Michelle screaming in Kristen's face. It was ridiculous. So they back Kristen into a corner, and Kristen says, well, your husband's been going around saying that he's going to leave you in 2 months. Now, she got it wrong. It's actually the other way around. It's Michelle who's going to leave him in 2 months. But Jesse says, y'all better get Kristen or she's going to get checked. Like, he was being very aggressive towards this woman. Because, listen, I understand Kristen's problematic, but at the end of the day, she's still a woman and he's a man. The way he was kind of behaving towards her was unacceptable. So Luke screams, mind you, by now they're in the hallway. So you got not only these four, but you got the producers, you got the man with the cameras, and then you got Brittany coming out, you got Zach coming out. So it was a mess. Luke screams, you got problem with your wife. Talk to your own wife. So then Jesse rushes. He rants towards them so aggressively. He ends up hitting poor Zach, pushing him against the wall. And he even kind of pushes Brittany as well. So this was all Jesse's dumb, ugly ass doing this. Luke and Kristen managed to leave. And I was like, props to Kristen for not revealing the secret, but she actually did. She just couldn't keep it to herself. She ends up saying out loud that Michelle has had a boyfriend for about a year. She even says, if I knew I was gonna be in this situation, I'd still be in Vanderpump Rules. But they didn't. The cast didn't get to hear her say this about the secret boyfriend for a year, because by then they were kind of like by the lobby. So, this was crazy. But y'all, I am intrigued with this show. And as the episodes go by, I don't like Jesse and Michelle, especially Michelle. She's very antagonistic. She's a gaslighter, toxic. She's cheating on her man. I don't like this girl. So let me tell you, Kristen, you got some secrets. Go ahead and spill them, because you would think that by Kristen having all these secrets against Michelle would have the common sense of not being so rude to Kristen. So let me tell you something. I am invested in this show and I can't wait for next week. But y'all let me know what y'all thought about this fight. I can't wait for next week. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.